Are we live? Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
All right, since we are a small, very small, intimate group, I would like to know who is in the house. So if we can just quickly, well, actually, three of you, I want to know who you are. Others, I know exactly who you are. But let's just do quick introductions so we know who is in the room, and we will jump right into today's community connections conversation.
All right. So I'm Reggie Ballard. I just started as the Chief of Staff for the Little Rock School District.
How many days have you been here?
I've been here 8 days.
All right. How's it going?
It's going great. Awesome. I have an amazing
Already
boss.
working late. I'm Wendy Sheridan. I have 2 kids in LRSD.
Okay.
My name is Rachel Porter. I'm a child at Forsyth.
I'm Nell Matthews. I'm a member of the BIPS board, but I'm also a volunteer at Stevens Elementary. We have a food pantry there, and I'm very interested in the community school concept.
Gotcha. All right.
Gina Curry, principal of Chico Elementary, and also parent. I've had 5 children that have gone through LRSD. 3 have graduated. I've got 2 at Little Rock Central High School.
And I'm Pamela Freeman. I'm the principal at Baseline Academy in the Little Rock School District.
Hi, I'm Jack Darby. I'm the postmaster for the school district. I'm Jim. I'm a parent.
What an introduction, Dr. Ross. Thank you. Well, I am excited to be able to host each of you this evening for our, I'm not sure if this is the first quarter or the second quarter. I know this is quarter 2. So this is the beginning of quarter 2. So we will have these community connection meetings every quarter in the school year. Well, actually quarters 1, 2, and 3. And so today I'm going to focus on something that I hope you will find exciting. Is our board goals, which aren't all that exciting, but how we're going to accomplish and achieve our board goals is what we're going to focus on today. And so I'll be sharing our board goals, some of the priorities that we've already identified, and I need you all to help us as a district answer some immediate next step questions in terms of, I'll tell you what those questions are in just a moment. But we started this school year with the theme Reimagining LRSD. How many of you have heard of that theme or seen that hashtag somewhere on social media? Okay, I know our employees have, but you guys haven't? All right, well, our theme for this year is Reimagining LRSD. So we are thinking about all the ways in which we can make our district the best district that it can be and to ensure that we are serving all of our students and our families the very best we can. And so one of the messages that we have tried to send this school year is that we are on a journey. This is not going to be a quick fix. We have lots of great things happening within our school district. We also have lots of work to do within our school district, and we are beginning this journey, as I said, to make sure that our district is the very best that it can be, to make sure that we're serving all of our kids and families well. You can go to the next slide. Oh, am I controlling the slides? All right. So we are at the very beginning stages of developing our plan for Reimagining LRSD. And so on today's agenda, we will talk about the what, which is our board goals, which was approved about a couple of months ago. I'll introduce the priorities, which will explain how we plan to accomplish all of our board goals. And then the part that you guys will play today is to provide community voice in how we develop how we develop our goals and our priorities. Now, your voice will help us identify the next steps in the planning process by answering 2 very important questions that we'll get to at the end of the presentation. How many of you are familiar with what our board goals are? All right, great. So I'm not going to spend time discussing each and every one of them, but we have basically 4 goals and 2 constraints. You see the 4 goals here: college and career readiness, career pathways, student recruitment and retention, staff recruitment and retention, and then our 2 constraints are welcoming and supportive schools and parent-family partnerships. So let's dig right into goal 1, which is our meatiest and the biggest and most comprehensive of all of our board goals. To improve student achievement in reading and math, aiming towards meeting or exceeding grade level performance for all students. And I want to draw your attention to 2 key words, and those words are meeting or exceeding. That's actually 3 words. So we want to focus on all of our kids in our district who currently aren't meeting grade level expectations and for our students who are already meeting grade level expectations, what can we do to make sure that they are challenged and that they continue to exceed grade level expectations as long as they stay within our district? And so within this goal, there are actually, I think, 8. There's several priorities. The first one is around paying attention to performance in K to second grade. And this is really, I don't want to rank our priorities, but this one is very near and dear to me and is the most important. I believe that if we get it right with kids when they first come to us in pre-K, kindergarten, first and second grade, that we attack those gaps that this is irritating me, that we attack those gaps and that we do whatever we can to make sure that when kids get to third grade that they are reading on grade level or exceeding grade level expectations, and that is going to be the game changer for our system. Yes, it's important for all of our kids in third grade and above to perform and do well, but if we only focus on the kids who take that test at the end of the school year, we will never as a system solve our literacy problem once and for all. So we are going to pay a lot of attention to what happens in grades K to 2. Performance in grades 3rd through high school, we're going to be paying attention to gaps. You will begin to see us not just sharing data, but really breaking our data down and disaggregating it by race and by subgroups so that we can be very transparent and see how our kids are performing across our district. I don't think it's any surprise to anyone that we have gaps between subgroups. Our district is no different than any other district across our country, but if we don't highlight it, if we don't keep it before us, if we don't always make sure that we're paying attention and looking at how our subgroups are performing, my fear is that we will never take the bold steps needed to make sure that we close those gaps if we don't keep attention and focus on those gaps. And then D, increase and enhance advanced academic opportunities. And this is an important part of this goal because as a district, we just don't want to focus on our kids who aren't meeting grade level expectations. Again, we want to make sure that all of our students are excelling, that they're growing, and that they are maximizing their educational experience as long as they are with us. All right, these are some of the priorities that our cross-functional teams, which is made up of staff throughout our district, these are the priorities that they have identified for Goal 1. And so number 1, we're going to make sure that our master schedules reflect the appropriate number of instructional minutes, prioritizing core instruction. And I'm not going to go very deep into all of these. I just want to hit the main important topics and move on. But if you have questions or you want me to clarify exactly what something means, please, by all means, you don't have to raise your hand, just call out. It's a small group, and so we can handle the comments and questions as they come. We want to analyze current evaluation, staffing, and performance outcomes. You will hear us talk a lot about our focus on Tier 1 instruction this year across all of our classrooms. And when you hear the term Tier 1 instruction, that simply means the instruction that kids receive the very first time in all of their core academic subjects. And why is this important? Because all kids, regardless of where they're currently performing, all kids need access to grade level expectations, regardless if they're working on grade level or not. For those of you who may be listening or watching who may say to yourself, that doesn't make any sense, why are we exposing kids to grade level academic standards when they can't perform on grade level? It is simple. Kids will never catch up if all we do is remediate and provide intervention. We will continue to be in this cycle year after year after year after year. There are ways in which we can provide kids access to grade level instruction, even if they can't read the text. There are strategies and things that we can use, and we are making sure that we are taking the initial steps to be able to do that this very school year. We want to make sure that all of our schools are using our high quality instructional materials, that we are aligning supports across all of our schools, and that includes our facilitators. We have coaches in every school, our revised curriculum maps, which we already know we need more work to develop. We are actually pulling in teachers from across our district to help improve those curriculum maps so that our teachers will have the materials that they need to provide quality first instruction. We know that professional learning is important, so we're taking a deep look at our systems that are supporting professional learning. And then before this year is over, we will have teams who will be coming to visit us from the Council of Great City Schools who will be auditing and evaluating everything in our district related to teaching and learning. So everything from our curriculum, our professional learning systems, all of those things that you see there, they will be able to provide us with a report, things that we're doing that are working well, things that we need to strengthen, and some recommendations to make sure that we have the best instructional systems available within our school district. Yes, ma'am.
What is HQIM
High quality instructional materials.
material?
Yeah.
What is the Council of Great City Schools? Who makes that up? Is it an organization? Who's coming to audit us?
Yes, great question. So about 6 years ago, before the state took over Little Rock School District, Little Rock School District used to be a part of the Council of Great City Schools. It is made up of 77, the largest urban school districts across our country. And I forgot the different types of criteria to become a member of the council. You either have to be an urban district within the capital of your state, or you meet a certain threshold in terms of the number of students within your district and or the number of students within your county or city or municipality. So it is the only professional organization that exists in our country that really provides the type of supports and resources and networking for like urban schools across our country.
So will it be?
Excuse me,
teachers
just
and-
one moment. Sorry, we're broadcasting, so we want the audience to be able to hear your question.
Who makes up the auditors? Are they teachers, administrators from different school districts?
Yep, and so depending upon, I'll use our K-12 curriculum team. So that will be made up of administrators, teachers, and other individuals they can come from any one of the 77 member districts around the country. The team that will be auditing our finances or operations will be made up of finance and operational staff from districts around the country.
And then the people auditing the teachers will be teachers from other districts?
It includes teachers and administrators. And they won't be auditing teachers. They won't be going into classrooms observing and auditing teachers in action. They will be auditing us from a district's perspective, looking at our curriculum, looking at our curriculum maps, looking at our strategies, all of those different types of things. So they won't be necessarily going into classrooms to observe teachers. They will look and see how we're supporting teachers. They will be looking at our systems that make up our professional learning, coaching, supports, and all of those different things. All right. As you can see, Goal 1 is, like I said, it is very meaty. We are still on Goal 1. These are some other priorities, and I'm not gonna read all of these, but I've already focused and talked about early literacy and early numeracy. Priority number 5 is around PLC implementation. Priority number 6 is around using data, disaggregating data, and I've already kind of talked about that. And then number 7 is restructure the current opportunities for high school credit recovery. And we've already taken some steps already around these particular priorities. You have a question or a comment?
No, you just went too fast for me.
So again, these are all 7 of the priorities around Goal 1. And it's a lot. And it's a lot because teaching and learning and student outcomes is our core business. It is the area that we should be focusing most of our time and attention on, which is why this goal is so robust and meaty and has so many different parts. And I don't think I said this at the beginning. I said that we are on a journey. And so these priorities, we could be focusing on these same 7 priorities for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. The priorities won't change. How we start and what we prioritize within the priorities may look different across years. All right, moving on to Goal 2, which is around career pathways. And so Goal 2 says that through implementation of academies and career pathways, we want to increase by 5% each year for the next 5 years the number of students enrolled in a CTE career pathway and the number of students earning an industry certification. Increase by 5% each year for the next 5 years the number of students using career planning tools to explore careers, interests, and aptitudes.
CTE?
Yes, ma'am.
What is CTE?
Career and technical education.
Thank you.
So if you don't know, we are a part of the Academies for Central Arkansas, which is a partnership between the Little Rock Chamber of Commerce It includes all of the districts within the Pulaski County, North Little Rock, Pulaski Special. Thank you, help me out. And I'm missing one. Oh, Jacksonville North. So all 4 of us are a part of the Academies of Central Arkansas, which is again designed to kind of reimagine how we do high school and to make sure that every kid is connected to some type of career pathway that aligns to their interests. One of the misconceptions that we hear all the time is that academies or CTE programs is not just for the purpose of developing kids for the workforce. That is a part of it, but that is not the only component of the Academies of Central Arkansas. We have academies that I can't list them all, but we have academies that deal with the medical sciences. And so kids who are interested in becoming doctors or working in the medical field, we have pathways for that. We have pathways for kids who may be interested in finance and banking. All of these different interests will be able to provide kids with not just the courses that are aligned to those particular areas of interest, but they will actually have experiences where they can intern, get practical experience with these particular areas of interest during the school year, and earn industry certification. In some cases, depending upon what the pathway program is, for example, I'm getting ready to make up something, but fire science for kids who may be interested in becoming a fireman, for kids who may be interested in law enforcement, becoming a police officer, where kids will have the opportunity to get certification in those particular areas, and once they leave us, they may be maybe a year or a year and a half out from additional training to be able to get jobs in those particular areas. And so these pathways are designed not just for kids who are interested in college, but also for kids who are interested in career as well. Yes, ma'am.
So if we have these different areas of emphasis, are they going to be at every school, or will children have to move to the schools that have, say, the welding program, or schools that have the dance program, or schools that have the medical focus?
So every high school will have their own unique academies. And what's interesting and unique about Little Rock is that we also have Metro, which has its own set of career programs that are housed at that particular school. And so right now, kids who attend any one of our high schools could be going to Metro during the week to take, whether it's welding, it's all types of programs at that particular school, auto mechanic, cosmetology, construction, whatever. So we have the separate Metro campus which houses programs, and we also will have academies with several pathways related to those academies at each of our high schools. Right now, Southwest High School is the furthest along in terms of implementation of the academy model. All of our high schools have ninth grade academy or freshman academy, which is a part of the academy framework. Southwest has about four or five different academies and maybe 3 pathways within each academy. We're working on developing pocket academies for Parkview now. And at Central, we are working on developing an academy that is going to be dealing with finance and banking. And so not all kids may not necessarily participate in an academy, but we do want kids to get experience with at least exploring interests, so that they will have some experiences in high school that will make them make high school a little bit more relevant and exciting and engaging for them. All right, here are our priorities for goal number 2. I'm not going to read these. I'll give you a moment to look at them, and then I'm going to move on. Let me know if you have any questions or need clarification about any one of the priorities that are listed here. I'm trying to get us quickly to the part where you get to participate. All right, moving on to goal 3, student recruitment and retention. We want to increase over year the number of students within our schools so that we will eventually rise back up to 24,000 students. Here are key priorities to accomplishing this particular goal. Ensure a safe, orderly, welcome, and supportive environment for all students in all schools. Establish a district marketing, recruitment, and retention plan, blah, 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 blah. a part of priority number 2 was our LRC Spirit Fest, which happened this past Saturday. I hated the fact that due to a scheduling conflict, I could not attend, but I received, no exaggeration, I was going to say hundreds, but that would have been an exaggeration, several comments and emails and text about how great of a time folks had at our Spirit Fest, where we got a chance to highlight and showcase all the great and many wonderful programs that we have within our district that most people don't even know exist. And you can see all the other things, all the other subcomponents that are listed for priority number 2. So number 3, within 2 weeks of arriving here in June, when I was having conversations with parents, staff members, community members, I heard over and over and over again about the cumbersome experience with the registration and enrollment process in our district. And so we are already working towards fixing that. We will be rolling out a new platform for enrollment that we know will make the process much more parent friendly. And it's not just the platform, it's the whole experience. You know, a parent shouldn't have to drive up to a physical office located far away from their particular neighborhood, then have to be directed to somewhere else if they have a special education kid, and somewhere else if they have a child that wants to enroll in one of our early childhood programs. And so we are trying to make this process seamless, much more efficient, and much more friendly to our parents, because we do not want to run people away from our district before they even have an opportunity to be a part of it. And so that is something that we're actually working on now, in addition to customer service training for all employees within our district. All right, goal 4 is around staff recruitment and retention. And so we want to increase recruitment and retention rates of highly qualified teachers. We want to rank among the top 5 school districts in Arkansas in teacher salaries, and we are already there. So it says by August 2024, but we have already arrived, and we hope that no other districts will up their teacher pay that will bump us out of the top 5. But we have one more move to make on our comprehensive compensation plan for our teachers, to eventually get our beginning salaries up to, is it 48? 48. We're currently at 46 for beginning teachers. And we've actually increased steps and have increased salaries at different points within the teacher salary schedule as well. So we're not just in the top 5 for beginning teachers, we're also in the top 5 for teachers. I can't think of the right word, for all teachers, regardless of where they fall on our teacher salary schedule. All right, not going to spend much time here because we have already accomplished some of these. We're also taking a look at classified pay rates as well. And so there is an agenda item on our board agenda for this coming Thursday where we are raising the minimum starting pay rate for all positions in our district so that no one will be making less than at least $15 an hour within our district. And that is a major change from where we were, from where we are now, especially with our custodians, our instructional assistants, security officers, and there's another group, food service. Those are the 4 groups that we are bumping up to a minimum starting pay of $15 an hour. All right, we have 2 constraints in addition to these 4 goals in welcoming and supportive schools. We want to integrate social emotional learning framework and practices district-wide in order to promote well-being and a sense of belonging amongst all of our students. It is no surprise and no secret that many of our students are experiencing all types of issues related to social emotional learning, mental health, behavioral issues. And so as a district, we have got to do a much better job of making sure that we're providing the types of supports to our schools and to our families to make sure that our kids are successful. We've got a lot of work to do here. I'm not going to go there because I'll be here for the next couple of hours and we won't ever get to the point where you guys get to participate. So Key priorities for our first constraint. We want to assess the current levels of training and understanding of SEL, PBIS, mental health, and restorative practices for all school administrators. And then these are different subpoints under that first priority for which we are trying to accomplish. And let me just say this. Schools are just a mere reflection of what happens in our city and what happens in our society. Our teachers are being tasked with doing much more than I ever had to worry about when I started teaching. And to me, it wasn't that long ago. My first year teaching was in 1997. And so although we don't want to keep adding more and more and more responsibilities on the backs of our teachers, we also can't ignore the fact that many of our students are coming to school with needs that we traditionally have not had to meet as a public school district, that we're having to meet now. And so we're actually piloting, we're having several teachers pilot several programs or SEL initiatives this year by their own choice and by their own choosing to see what is going to work well before we make a decision about what to use throughout our district. And so right now we have several teachers, I think, can't remember the number, in about 7 schools who are piloting Rhythm, which is a quick little self check-in that they can do at any time of the day. It's app-based. They can take a couple of minutes. I forgot the little slogan that they use. I think it's let's get into rhythm or something. I don't know. But when the teacher says let's get into rhythm, kids take out their devices, they go to the app, and they just simply click on how they're feeling at the moment or things that they may be going through. And the student responses send alerts to the guidance counselors. They send alerts to other staff members within the school. And so that data is used to help other members of the school community to be able to respond to those particular kids and those particular kids' needs. And so I think we have one more month to pilot that. Had a chance to talk to teachers in our teacher advisory council last week about their experiences thus far, and every single comment that I received was positive, with the exception of some small tech issues that we are still working out. Very excited about a new pilot that we are considering, and which will touch every single student in high school. In my short time here, I can share some stories with you about things that have already happened or things that our students are already dealing with this school year that will probably blow your minds. And I'm not just talking about an isolated case of issues. I'm talking about reoccurring mental health issues, depression, anxiety, all types of stuff that our kids are dealing with that we have to be able to meet. And so this program is called HIP. Thank you. It is being used in several large districts in Florida and other places. And without taking too much time, it is student-led. And so we will be preparing to launch this at the beginning of the next school year. But in the freshman academy classes that all 9th graders take, we will be training and working with upperclassmen, 11th and 12th graders, to be able to teach, I think it's about 8 or 10 lessons a year. 8 or 10 lessons a year that deals with a range of topics. Now, the kids aren't teaching other kids things. They're providing lessons. They're being trained on how to deliver the lessons. And these particular lessons will provide kids the resources, information, other places to go to help them with whatever issues that they may be experiencing. The gist or the foundational premise behind the program is that we know that peer pressure is real. And we also know that sometimes kids listen to their peers more so than they listen to adults. And so this is a peer-to-peer type of intervention. And our hope is that when they see the cool football player or the cheerleader or the popular person in the school who is being open and free to talk about various issues that they may be dealing with, it may make it less stigmatizing for kids to be able to take advantage of resources that we have available within our school and resources that we're working with other agencies throughout the city to be able to partner and provide those resources to not just students, but to their families as well. Some other priorities for that first constraint. And then our last constraint, and we're almost to the end, is around is around parent and family partnerships. Constraint 2, every school will create and implement a culturally responsive family engagement plan, welcoming and encouraging authentic partnerships in support of the child's educational experiences. What are some priorities that we have identified here? We want to use a district administered survey using non-traditional methods for diverse communities, blah, 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 to be able to, the words are blurred together, to be able to gather and track family engagement data, identify strengths and areas for growth in district school outreach and practices in order to inform further planning. So basically what we want to know is, how are families and parents, are they satisfied with the educational experience that they're receiving in our school district? If they're not, why? If they've chosen to leave, why did they leave? What is it that we need to do to be able to attract families back to our school district? So these are the types of things that we want to do to make sure that we strengthen the connection between the district and parents and families. Number 3 is a big issue, attendance. And we've got to figure out a way to help our community as a whole understand how important it is for kids to be in school every single day. You know, when I was growing up, you know, my parents didn't give me an option. Sick or not, you're going to school. And you better not get to school sick and tell them to call for me to pick you up, because I'm not. But how times have changed. We have an attendance problem in LRSD. We can't teach kids, and we can't expect them to learn and grow and make the progress that they need to make when they are chronically absent. And chronically absent in our district is 10 or more days? 10 or more days. I hate to say this, but in some cases, I'll take 10 days versus the 20, 30, or 40 days that some of our kids, and I'm not talking about a handful of kids, I'm talking about a bunch of kids in our district miss a lot of days. And so I hope you see from our goals and from our priorities that we know as a district that there are some things that we need to do better. And so we're going to take accountability for things that we need to do better as a district. But we also need to make sure that our parents and families are also being accountable. And one of the best ways that our families and parents can be accountable is making sure that kids are in school every single day. We can't stress how important it is for kids to be in their seats every single day. All right, so this is the part where you get to participate. And before I get to the community voice part, I want to pause for a minute because I know I've gone over a lot. And so I'll give you about 30 seconds of think time. Think about all those. Think about our 4 goals and our 2 constraints. And I want to give you a time to ask any questions you may have, ask any clarifying questions you may have, or offer any comments about any of our goals and constraints before we get to the last part of our meeting today.
You know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here and a lot of data that needs to be collected. But having it be the responsibility of the teacher in the classroom to put all this information together seems like it's going to be a difficult ask. Are there going to be plenty of supplemental staff like master teachers or more people in the administration that can help the teachers pull this info together?
Yes. So we're actually now looking at all of our schools and all of our needs and seeing where our kids are currently performing and trying to determine the best way to utilize our resources. And by that I mean the schools who are in the need of the most support, we want to make sure that we are providing those schools the resources in terms of time, in terms of funding, and in terms of personnel to be able to help and assist with those student population groups who are extremely behind, so that we're not asking and dependent upon our teachers to do every single thing. And then the part that may get a little uncomfortable in our district is, our schools that are doing well and may not need as many supports. How do we balance that? We don't have enough funding, people, personnel, resources to be able to provide every single person or every single school every single school may not need everything that every school may need. And so how do we prioritize and give more resources and support to schools who may need them versus some schools who may not?
You know, I've been in the district for years, since '92, and it's always been true that the kids that are performing at the best level, that come from the best backgrounds, have cost the least amount. And so one of the reasons they always wanted to get those kids into a school was because it meant there was that much more resources for the other kids that needed more help. And I understand that, but on the other hand, you've got to offer the kids that are not causing you trouble, the kids that are not costing you a lot of money, you got to offer them some incentives too. More than, I mean, it's nice to recognize them, but there has to be some solid consequences for the fact that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, over and above just that they're going to get out with a good education and a degree. You've got to give them some expansive opportunities and so forth. And so when you say apply resources to the schools that need it most, I absolutely understand that. But you got to have some balance there too for the schools that are doing excellently well.
One of the messages that we heard loud and clear during our first set of community meetings early in the year when I was sharing mostly about myself is I heard from a lot of parents with students who their students aren't behind. They may be in some of our gifted and talented programs. They may be in some of our schools taking a lot of our AP courses, and their comments were like, what are we going to do to make sure that my child is not stymied, that they're able to continue to grow and develop, which is why you see a lot of emphasis on Goal 1, letter D, increase and enhance advanced academic opportunities. That's not just for kids in traditional gifted, talented type of programs, but we want to make sure that all kids flourish. And we can't just have, we need to have an intention and focus on the kids who traditionally have not, but it cannot be at the expense of kids who are, and we have to make sure that they're continuing to grow and excel as well. So we have to do both.
On the K through second, it said MAP assessments.
Mm-hmm.
On the third through high school, it says state accountability assessment. Are you talking about that ACT Aspire or whatever that's going to become that one test at the end of the year? How are you measuring the growth from third to high school?
That's a very good question. So right now, yes, B is basically that one test that kids take at the end of the year.
That they don't find out till the next year.
Yes.
So that doesn't seem very good.
However, we are having, yes, it is. We're having a lot of internal conversations about metrics and measures, and you don't see anything up here yet that talks about what we're going to use to measure these priorities, because we need to really do that carefully, methodically, and strategically. So for K2, our kindergarten, first and second graders, they don't take the state assessment.
Right,
and
they
so,
do the MAP 4 times a year, right?
Yes.
And so my understanding was my child he's now in 6th grade, but he did MAP all through elementary. So now we're not doing MAP.
So we are taking a deep look at our assessment strategy and making sure we're not, so I want to make sure I'm answering your question. Okay. So right now we are over-assessing.
Okay, I would agree with
we
that.
We are over-assessing. And the assessments that we sometimes spend a lot of time on giving, the information does not, I'll use the MAP test or NWEA. NWEA is not aligned to our curriculum. But yet we give it.
ACT Aspire, though.
I know, but that's a state thing. So what we're trying to do now is to develop curriculum-based assessments that every student, every single grade, every single school will take at the same time across our district, that will give us better data about how our kids are responding to what they're being taught every single day. That's where we're trying to get to. Right now, we've got much more work to do to make sure that our process is seamless and accurate, but that's the direction that we're moving to. And also, we have one more year of the ACT Aspire before the state of Arkansas implements a new assessment, which we believe will be much more aligned to what we're teaching every single day.
So I've noticed a lot of emphasis on elementary and a lot of emphasis on high school. and nothing talked about middle school. And I think historically that's been the place where we lose a lot of students in LRSD. Is there a plan? Are there any goals that are focused on that area?
So all of our goals are focused on kids throughout the whole K-12 spectrum. You see a lot of emphasis on elementary, especially K-1 and 2, because that's where we don't get it right. And if we don't get it right there, then we're going to keep having the issues and challenges that we continue to have.
Right. I'm just not sure we're getting it right in middle school either.
We probably aren't, but if so this is K-12. So everything that you see here for Goal 1 is touching every single child K to 12. You may have heard me talk more about elementary and high school, but it's actually touching all kids across our district. I emphasize elementary again for the reasons I've already stated. And then for high school, we want to make sure that when our kids leave, by the time they leave our system, that they are college and or career ready. And so that's why you see a lot of emphasis on CTE and career pathways and some of those other things. But we actually, looking at our data, we actually lose more students at the elementary level. We have actually gained students at the middle school level. We lose the most of them at the elementary school level.
Do you have a year that you're losing them at elementary level? Or is it just like, when you say we're losing them, when you say we're losing them in elementary, is it like third grade, they're like, we're out of here, or they're not even enrolling?
So we have not disaggregated the data to say we're losing them at first, second, and third grade. They're just all lumped into K-5.
Because I would say as a parent, when you're looking at middle school options and you're thinking, oh, my child's going to have to start over with a whole new peer group, at third grade, my personal experience, and I don't know if that's, we lost a lot of children in my child's class in third grade because they didn't like the middle school options, so they pulled them. So I think that it's interconnected.
Gotcha.
I guess is my point.
And it makes sense. What you just explained probably makes sense. This year alone, our enrollment is about 600 students less than it was last year. 400 of those students are at the elementary level.
And I would just be interested in what level
Yep.
that we're losing.
We probably need to dig down much more deeper than what our data tells us now.
So this is going back a little bit in history. You know, we got taken over by the state because some schools did not, on average, increase their performance. But they never looked at whether individual students within those schools were increasing their performance. So with your effort to do a 2% increase, is that an overall average, or is that per student, student by student? Each student gets a 2% increase.
Right now, that is overall. And it's overall.
But see, now we're back to the same situation we were in before. That just it doesn't account for the fact that you get new kids in that don't speak English as a primary language, that may not have been in school in the countries they came from. And you're throwing those in, and you're going to average those in with all the kids that have been making progress. It's not a good way to do the data, and the state used that excuse to take us over. And I don't want to see us in that position again. I want to see us show that individual students, which y'all are getting the data on, because you have to make a plan for each student, individual students have this increase in performance. And then we can counter this business about you're on average, you're not doing so well.
You're absolutely correct. And so I think there are multiple ways in which we can demonstrate and show data. It just doesn't have to be collectively and overall. What you see here is just what the board wanted to set as a goal for overall. You heard me talk about, in one of the priorities, it talks about disaggregating data. And so that gets to what you're talking about. And we're making a commitment to not just present data holistically, but to show it by school, by subgroup, by grade. And so there's multiple ways in which we can show the data. And we're trying to establish the types of tools within our district for us to be able to do that effectively, quickly, and easily. Like right now, those systems are non-existent, which is why it's easy to show, overall.
Right.
But we are making a commitment to disaggregate our data and to show it in multiple ways.
I'm just curious, for all of the students we lose, we should have information on them, contact data, do we ever send out any surveys to these people who have left, asking them why they've left?
No. Part of the new tool or the new platform that we'll be using for registration allows us to be able to do that. And number two, we are actually trying to secure a demographer to look at birth rates, to look at areas of the city where population is growing, decreasing. A part of that demographer services will be to also look at where our kids have gone. If they're going to charter, if they're going to private. And we're going to use that service to be able to collect data into terms of, to be able to tell us why. Any others before we go on? Yes.
One last comment.
Hold on, Ms. Nell.
One last comment is, why do families leave LRSD? I think it might be because they have a child that has some needs to be more challenged, or has been bullied, and the response is slow. You know, getting through the bureaucracy is slow. And so sometimes I think folks will leave just because they get fed up with having to ask for help.
You're absolutely right. And so one of the things that we are experimenting with this year is the role of an ombudsman. And so we have one of our staff members who is currently serving in that role in addition to 50 other things. But one of the things that we've actually gotten feedback recently about the effectiveness of this particular approach, number one, we always want to make sure that problems are solved at the closest level to where the problem is, and that's at our schools. And so we have amazing principals who are very responsive, who are on top of things. Certain issues at certain schools never even get to us. And then we have other cases where that's not the case. And then we have sometimes where people don't want to work at the lowest level to solve their problems. They just like to go directly to the superintendent. But in cases, even when people do that, we have a person now who talks to them, works with them, points them back to the school level, serves as an intermediary between the parents and the school to be able to bring resolution to problems and conflicts much faster than we have in the past. Any others? All right. So we've got 3 questions here that are related to Goal 3 and Constraint 2. The first question is, why do families leave LRSD, and what will attract families to an LRSD school? Related to Constraint 2, how can we better engage and partner with parents, families in non-traditional ways? And let me explain what I'm looking for here. You know, typically you've got the after the evening community meeting, school meeting, and let me back up a little more. So for parents who are currently engaged and on top of things, it doesn't matter what we do, they're going to be engaged and on top of things. For parents who are not, you know, there could be very real reasons for why they either don't come to the school when we invite them to, or have programs or activities or engagement activities for them to come to school. And we have some parents and family members who are just disengaged, period. And so for those who are not engaged for whatever reason, whether it's a valid reason or not valid reason, we're really looking for some non-traditional ways for where we can get parents engaged in their child's education. And engagement is not about coming to a school. It's not necessarily about coming to an event. It can be as simple as knowing how to log into whatever system we use, Schoology, to check grades, to communicate with teachers, to send a text message to a teacher, to communicate back on Class Dojo, just to know what's happening with their child in school, and to better support us by staying on top of their child and their child's progress. And so what are some different things that we can do to engage parents in non-traditional ways? And the last question, how can we more effectively engage parents, families to prioritize student attendance and support academic interventions? And so what I would like to do, you can feel free to share out here as a whole group, but I want to make sure that your responses are captured either by using this QR code and or by using the actual handout that you have here. So you can either use a QR code the sheet of paper, and you're welcome to share out here as a whole group.
So I filled out the form and have put a lot of my ideas down for you. But one of the things on constraint to better engage and partner with families in non-traditional ways, I think you do it around food. You have a night once a month where it's a dinner for everybody that the district provides, but we get the families to come in together, to sit down at the tables together and eat a meal together, and make the school the center of the community. And, you know, this goes back to my thing about the community schools. If the community, the residents that live around the schools, see that as a main place to come and socialize and to get information, exchange, and see friends and so forth, then that makes the school more important and it makes them more invested into it. And if you could get like churches and businesses and other groups to start programs that go into that school and have their programs there, and use the building, use it 24 hours. Don't just limit it to between 8 and 2 or 3 p.m., but have it open in the evenings too. You could do night school. You could, all these are ideas that are well known and have been tried, but we just got to push them and push them and push them to get the families and the community to say, this is our school, this is our place, and we're going to support it.
Thank you. Any others?
Just you were talking about engagement, and this goes in line with streamlining registration and one platform for everything. I think as a parent who is engaged, I still get like overwhelmed with, you're supposed to log into Schoology, you're supposed to log into Hack, this school has an app, this teacher uses Dojo, this teacher doesn't. And then are the teachers entering grades in 2 systems? Are we using 2 systems? I think, and that's sad for the teachers. We're doubling their administrative work, and then I'm logging into 2 things, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I actually read the paper. So I think you need to take the streamlined registration into how we interact with parents, because it is overwhelming, and especially if you have kids at different schools and they're using different systems. And if we're making teachers enter grades more than once, that seems a ridiculous use of their time. So I think the streamlining can also go to, it gets overwhelming and then you just tune it out because you don't know any paper, so you just assume that all of it doesn't matter. So I think we're overwhelming them with communication options at times.
Gotcha. And that's helpful. I see our 2 principals back there nodding their heads as well.
As far as student attendance,
I'm sorry, we need you to speak in this okay.
As far as student attendance, especially the elementary age, I think we need to focus on it being incentivizing the parents and the families, guardians to get them to school. Right now, it seems like the incentives for attendance are all for, okay, you get a popsicle party or you get this, but those children have no control over whether they come to school on time or not. So if we could think of a way that will encourage parents to focus it more on them, because I think sometimes those incentives do more harm than good on our kids and their self-esteem. And
I just had a thought. It's probably, so I have been fascinated when I'm out visiting schools, especially elementary schools. Don't give the mic up. I'm going to come back to you. Okay. This car pickup line that folks will start like an hour before school is over. And so if we give preferred pickup spaces to parents who, but it's probably those parents who are first in the pickup line, they probably aren't the parents whose kids are missing days. So never mind, move on.
I was just going to also say, some of the community things that have been coming out now, there's like on a Saturday, and it's all Saturday, and it's not on a campus that my child attends. So the incentive to go meet with teachers and administrators that are not in the day-to-day, I guess it's community partnerships where they have like a whole Saturday, and I've never signed up for a single one because that seems very selfish, but it doesn't affect the school that my child's in. So why would I go across town? So I think sometimes we focus too big on bringing parents in instead of doing something at the school on a Saturday. whether it's a magnet school or a neighborhood school or whatever. Like those across community things are great with the 4 teams of this school district in this zone and this zone and 5 different schools. But I'm not going to show up to that because it doesn't have a day-to-day reflection, and I'm not meeting the teachers that my child's with. I'm not building a teamwork with them. So to me, those don't seem to do what they're targeted to do.
That's good feedback. I will say that I've been surprised at the number of parents who actually come to those. I think we've had 1 or 2 this year.
One.
We've had 1.
You're talking about the big parenting conference that was
Yes.
held at Henderson.
Yes. So I was shocked at how many people, and I think we've had some conversations internally about whenever the next one is, like how do we take advantage of that time, since we already have parents that are there to kind of share some of the messages that that we need to share. But I also do think, I don't know who said this, but things that happen at the local school level are probably the best way to engage families in a more meaningful way than some of the district level things that we do. But those district level things also has, it's purpose, because we do get a chance to connect those families with lots of resources and organizations that are representative from across the city that for things that they may need beyond school.
And if I might interject, I'm not the spokesperson for parent and family engagement. They do a wonderful job, but they also have cluster meetings that probably would be a little more specific to what your interests are, not at an individual school, but they categorize by the zone area, and they have meetings as well. But your point is taken, so I'm not dismissing that. I'm just saying that there is a more drilled down version of that larger event by clusters.
Any other remarks? Please make sure that your feedback is captured either on the physical sheet of paper or digitally by using the QR code. Many of the priorities that you heard me mention or that were listed on our slide were identified from feedback that we've gotten from the first set of community meetings. And so it is very important that you provide us feedback and share it with your friends and other parents that you know that may not be here, and invite them to come out to the next one, which is
November 3rd, which is a Thursday at Pulaski Heights United Methodist Church. And then the final one for the quarter is November 14th at Lifeline Baptist Church on Baseline.
Are you going to be talking about the same goal restraint?
yes. Yep, it'll be the same focus for the next 2. Nothing else? Thank you so much for coming out, and thank you for your engagement. Spread the word so that we can have more parents and community folks come out to the next one on November 5th? 3rd? Thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Dr. Wright.
Thank you.